Most gacha collaborations don't actually feel like collaborations, they feel like advertisements. A character appears, they barely fit in the world, they get a flashy trailer, and then everybody gets hyped for a few weeks or months, and then nobody talks about it ever again. And honestly, personally, I'm usually not even that excited anymore when collabs get announced. Not because I hate collaborations, but because most of them feel temporary, like they exist for marketing more than storytelling. But when I watched the trailer of Wuthering Waves collabing with Cyberpunk Edgerunners, something immediately felt different. It's not because of the hype, not because it's cyberpunk, but because for the first time in a long time, this collaboration actually looks like it was made by people who cared about the art source material. You can feel the passion in every bit of new information we get. And seeing how much Kuro's storytelling has improved since 2.x and especially now in 3.x, I think this might become the blueprint for how gacha collaboration should be done from now on. So while you're watching this video, does this collaboration actually feel integrated into Wuthering Waves? Or is it just another hype event with really good marketing? We barely know anything about the collaboration. We only got a short trailer, some gameplay, and reveals for Lucy and Rebecca as playable characters. But even with that little information, there's already something very noticeable about the way Kuro Games approached this collab. Because most gacha collabs focus on one thing, getting attention. But is that enough? I think the best collaboration focuses on immersion. They make the players feel like these characters belong in the game. And that's where Wuthering Waves might be doing something special. The reason why most gacha collaborations are forgotten so quickly is because they usually feel disconnected from the actual game. A popular anime character gets dropped into the world, they keep their original design, maybe they get one event story, one weapon, and a few references. And that's it. The collab exists more as a marketing than an actual artistic addition to the game. And players can feel that, even if the character looks really cool, because a good collaboration is not just about recognition, it's about adaptation. The characters need to feel natural inside the game's world, combat system, visual identity, and the atmosphere. Otherwise it will just feel empty, disposable, like something designed to create hype instead of memories. And I think this is where a lot of gacha collaborations lose their soul. Not because the characters are bad, but because the game never truly commits to integrating them properly. Sometimes the writing feels forced, sometimes the characters feel like expensive skins instead of actual parts of the universe. You can almost feel when a collaboration exists mainly because two companies signed a contract, instead of them believing the worlds fit together. And players notice that immediately, because the best collaborations aren't the ones that scream "look who we got", they're the ones where, after a few minutes, you stop thinking about the crossover entirely, because the characters feel like they were always meant to be part of that world. But the moment Lucy and Rebecca appeared in Wuthering Waves, something immediately stood out. They actually look like they belong there. Kuro didn't just copy the anime designs into the game, they adapted them carefully into Wuthering Waves' visual style while still preserving what made the original characters iconic. And not only that, they interact with other already existing characters. Which gives me the impression this isn't just some isolated collab patch, where the characters get dropped into their own separate story, they are actually integrated into the world. And honestly, that balance is incredibly hard to get right. Rebecca still feels chaotic, Lucy still has that cold, distant elegance, but now they exist naturally inside WuWa's darker sci-fi atmosphere. Even the gameplay snippets looked surprisingly authentic. The movement, the effects, and the pacing, nothing is done lazily. And what impressed me the most is that Kuro apparently worked closely with the original creators and voice actors from the Edgerunners original. And if we may believe the rumors and the shot they showed in the trailer, we might actually visit Night City. And that's what gives collaborations their soul. Respect for the original material. Because players can instantly tell the difference between we licensed this character and we genuinely wanted to bring this world into our game. Collaborating with Cyberpunk Edgerunners is in my opinion a really smart choice for Wuthering Waves, because emotionally they almost feel like opposites. Yes, we've had some heartbreaking moments here and there, especially in the first half of 3.x, but Edgerunners is tense and painful and not just heartbreaking, actually heart-wrenching scenes. It's the kind of story that makes you lose faith in humanity and just gives you an inch of hope. And that's why the story hurts so much. Because underneath all the violence and cyberpunk aesthetics, Edgerunners is really a story about people desperately trying to hold on to humanity in a world that constantly destroys it. You watch characters dream, mostly struggle and love each other, and then you see the world they have to live in and survive in. But despite all of that darkness, some people still give you that inch of hope you thought you lost, in a world that feels completely broken. And that's where this collaboration becomes really interesting to me, because Wuthering Waves has always felt very different emotionally. The world, Solaris 3, is damaged, there are monsters, people are trying to survive any way they can, but there has always been some sort of belief, a sliver of hope, to rebuild, hold on to human connection, and through teamwork or trust they move forward. Hope almost feels like the core philosophy of Wuthering Waves storytelling, which I think creates this fascinating duality between the two worlds. Wuthering Waves feels like a world where the people try to protect hope and suffer through it. Where Edgerunners shows a world where all hope is lost, except for a few individuals. And that duality we see here is actually something I talked about in my previous video too, where I think Wuthering Waves is at a turning point in their storytelling. Instead of a story about hope and community, I believe they are setting something up to really test that hope. So bringing Edgerunners into the game could be a perfect way to test the waters of that narrative. To go in a darker, even more emotional direction. Since in Edgerunners the question is not can people survive, but it asks whether hope itself can survive. In a cruel world designed to destroy just that. Kuro does seem to like a darker plot with humanity and hope intertwined, looking at their other game, Punishing Grey Raven or PGR. So I'm very curious as to how far the collab will give into that. Not just making this as a cool crossover event, but using the collab to explore the darker themes of heartbreak, sacrifice, humanity, and hope from two completely different perspectives. What I actually hope for is that Kuro doesn't do a collab with just story and events, but if this also could be used to enhance the current Edgerunners characters and plot. I think that will be an amazing achievement, which I don't think many or if any Gacha collaborations has ever done. Usually collabs are very one-sided. The game gets more attention and the collab side makes for some nostalgia. And when the collab is over, everybody moves on. Though I think this collab feels different. Lucy and Rebecca already feel like they are part of the Wuthering Waves world. They showed us David in the end and stated that they wanted to go to the moon, which is a reference to the Edgerunner story. We'll have to see how Kuro pulls this off, but I have a gut feeling that this one will be remembered in the Gacha history. Okay, but what if Kuro actually delivers? If they integrate the story with setting up for the new narrative? As if the collab is just a new patch of the game. This could very well change what players are gonna be expecting in the future of Gacha games. That might obviously be a very good business strategy, as they can use that to distinguish themselves from the competition. Because players are getting tired of shallow crossover events, but it kinda is what it is. The game is in essence free, so you shouldn't complain, is what I mostly see as a reaction. But that doesn't mean you can't put in more effort. Seeing how saturated the gacha market is right now, players want effort, something different, not just another copy of whatever someone else has done. This is a great opportunity to set the bar for future collabs. And it doesn't have to be the biggest, but it might be the collaboration that understands why people love the crossovers in the first place. Not just because the characters appear, but to see the worlds connect. As I said, I'm not one to get hyped about collaborations anymore. I wasn't even hyped when this collaboration was announced a year ago, because I thought, here we go again, just another meaningless collab that doesn't add to the story and doesn't get my artistic juices flowing. I love gaming to see how companies or developers can make art and tell beautiful or heartbreaking stories. AAA or indie games, I don't care. I really just want to feel the passion and I want that immersion and I want to be swept away. That duality that has been coming up since 2.x with Cardia's story If Kuro goes on this darker path with that heavier narrative, then I think the future of this game could become really, really special. So if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I'm really curious to hear what you think about all of this. Let me know in the comments. If you want to see more about that turning point I talked about, here's that video. So let's see what Kuro does, and I'll see you in the next one.